Good news, as of tomorrow, you can have up to £3,750 off of the cost of your next electric vehicle purchase. I mean, yes, that might only be the first 2 weeks of depreciation accounted for, and admittedly, no, it's not going to be much help if you're in the half of the population who don't have a driveway. You're still going to be extorted at public charger points, but I mean, come on, where's your patriotism for the British car market? Let's talk about it, shall we? Hello, and a very warm welcome back as always. Let's dive into this sheer madness. So government launches new EV grant scheme with discount of up to £3,750. Electric car grant will provide discounts on new cars priced below £37,000, subject to a sustainability criteria. So let's start there. The sustainability criteria, well, the way that this is going to work is dependent on how much CO2 is emitted during a given car's production. That car is going to find its way into one of two bands. Band 1 gets up to the quoted £3,750 discount, whilst Band 2 gets up to £1,500. Now, what all this equates to is a £650 million debt to the taxpayer. And you have to ask, what real world difference is it really going to make? Because if a £1,500, £3,000 discount suddenly makes an EV just affordable for you, then you probably want to be thinking about the £20,000 or so that car's very likely to lose in the next 24 months. It's likely that you would have got that 5 or 10% discount from the dealer anyway, given how desperate they are to try and shift EV stock and avoid the punitive fines if they don't manage to. It's the depreciation that remains the bigger issue here, not necessarily the purchase price, especially now. I mean, manufacturers are more focused than ever on lower cost EVs due to the threat of cheap Chinese cars coming in. If anything, all this is really going to do is make things worse, because the very small pool of people who might have at one point went out and purchased a 5-year-old EV with no warranty and potential battery degradation, given that we don't have battery health certificates in the UK yet, well, they're absolutely not going to now, are they? They're just going to buy the brand new one using this subsidy. The spokesperson said bands, which could expand beyond 2, are determined by how much CO2 is emitted in an EV's production, assessing the energy used in vehicle assembly as well as battery manufacturing. We'll look back to that in just a moment. Threshold levels are yet to be made public. When asked for clarification on the sustainability criteria and emission scores, the spokesperson said an SBT that we consider verified is one that has been validated by the Science Based Target Initiative, SBTI. Scores are relative to an index based on the carbon intensity of different power grids. At least now we're facing the reality that EVs do indeed emit CO2, and they're not zero emission vehicles as we often term them when we bring the production cycle into it. Now, this is going to get really interesting because I cannot come up with the faintest idea as to how they're possibly going to measure this. With a petrol or diesel car, if you're concerned about it, well, it's really easy to measure, isn't it? There's a 1-to-1 relation with how much fuel you put in the tank and how much fuel you burn. It's very easy, simple. With an EV, emissions are not traditional. They're emitted elsewhere, and they're far, far more difficult to measure. I mean, for a start, an average EV battery weighs, about £1,000, getting on for half a tonne, somewhere in that range. It requires a large amount of lithium, cobalt, graphite, and so on, all of which need to be mined. Now, for that one £1,000 battery, excuse my use of units here, it just so happens that the data that I'm taking this from is in pounds. So for that one £1,000 battery, you have to mine over £90,000 of rock. And in the process of that, you need to move approximately £500,000 of earth, and that's per car. To do that, well, it requires massive diesel machinery to collect it, massive diesel trucks to transport it, massive diesel ships to send them all around the world, where they're usually crushed by coal-fired crushers to get the minerals out that they need. The list goes on. I'm sure you can see my point here. What I'm saying is, how on earth are they actually going to measure all of that? That's before we get into the labyrinth of supply chains, much of which will be coming from China, where 2/3 of its electricity, well, it still comes from coal. We just simply don't know what emissions are involved with the production of a specific electric car. And remember, these cars, they're probably going to need a replacement battery at some point in their life, maybe 2 in their lifetime. So this whole cycle can wind up running several times per car. Beyond the production, the other thing that is completely missing here, the other thing the government they've just completely left it off the table, is some form of measuring the efficiency of electric vehicles. I mean, the first thing we look at when we're evaluating a petrol or diesel car's efficiency is how many miles to the gallon it can achieve. I mean, our tax bans have been based on it for decades. So why isn't there that same focus when it comes to electric vehicles? As I've said before, there's still a bit of ignorance towards their efficiency. There is this assumption out there that because something's electric, it must be efficient, and it just isn't the case. Whilst looking at production emissions, yes, it's very important. What about the energy consumption of some of the gas guzzlers out there in electric form, electric guzzlers? It's just very odd that efficiency measures, they've just gone completely out the window when it comes to EVs. Because by having more efficient EVs, we cut down on energy usage, we cut down reliance on expensive charger networks, we cut down the need for such big batteries, which require a lot of mining, and in turn, we cut down the price without fleecing the taxpayer again. So in the press release announcing the electric car grant, Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander said, "This is our plan for change in action. We're backing British drivers, British jobs," I can barely finish this sentence, "and British growth." How on earth is this achieving any of that? If you look at the potential list of electric cars under that £37,000 threshold, there's one, maybe two, that's manufactured here in the UK that comes to mind. That statement should read, "We're backing Chinese and other national economies," really, shouldn't it? We've watched this government decimate the automotive industry for years now. And we continue to. We're sinking further into national debt to fund cars that no one wants to buy. It would be hilarious if this wasn't real life. The rest of the world, the USA, Japan, India, Far East, Americas, name who you like, they're all taking a far more measured approach, letting the market forces dictate which way they're going to go, but not us. Now, there is one way that you can avoid all of this madness, as I'm going to do, and that's by buying quality used cars. And if that is something that you opt to do, then please do make use of my 20% discount voucher that's kindly provided by our sponsor, Vehicle Score. It'll be in the description below. Use this to get an HPI check on the next car that you buy and make sure there's no hidden skeletons in its closet. As ever, thank you so much for watching. Please do let me know your thoughts on this in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button.